in a galaxy far, far away. Okay, scratch that. It's not actually that far away. It's actually right here in my hobby space, where a plague is about to break out. Welcome to the beginning of a new series, one where we embrace the decay, the rot and all things Nurgle. This is the first step in a journey, and it's going to be full of model building, painting, and let's be honest, probably quite a few bad decisions. Hello my fellow plague spreaders, welcome to the first video of my Death Guard series, where we'll be diving into the models I'm working on, and more importantly, the plan to get these glorious little plague marines painted up into a collection that would make Nurgle himself look on with something that I think's approval, but could also be indigestion. To be honest, it's pretty hard to tell with that guy. So let me take you back to where it all started. 2019, a year when my best friend passed away, and I found myself returning to Warhammer. Now here's the thing, I actually started with Space Wolves, the same army my friend played, amongst others. Space Wolves are his army, and in some ways I think I always felt a bit of a connection to him when I painted my first batch of Space Wolves. It was special, it was a connection to my buddy who unfortunately wasn't here anymore. I spent a good chunk of time collecting and painting Space Wolves. I still love them. I was inspired by my friend's passion for them amongst his other armies that he's had. He was a legendary wargamer and friend, someone who knew a lot about lore and tactics, and he had a big old collection. But the Space Wolves were kind of our army in a way. It was a bond between us when he passed. But I knew when he went I needed to do something different, something that would represent a new chapter in my journey as a hobbyist, and something that I could really call my own, rather than the homage. And as much as I love the Space Wolves, they were for him, really. So, I made a decision. It was time to embrace the decay. I chose the Death Guard as my new army. Nurgle's followers, champions of disease and decay. What better way to honour the spirit of my friend than starting something completely new but still deeply connected to the hobby that we both loved, and if not, a bit macabre. And here's where it gets really interesting. The models. It wasn't just about the lore and the themes. Although I'll admit that Nurgle's rot and the plague spreading vibe was pretty cool, what sold me were the models. A good friend gave me some of the modern models, and whilst they were cool, they weren't quite what I wanted. I always liked the older models, but then I saw the old school Death Guard models and it just clicked. The chunky, perfectly imperfect look of these models drew me in like a magnet to a pile of rusted metal. They had character, they had history, and they were everything I was looking for in a new army. So I started to get models. Now don't get me wrong, these models are a bit of a throwback. They're not as sleek or as modern as the new miniatures. They're not designed by a computer, they're handcrafted, but that's what I love about them. They're the kind of old leather jacket you find at a charity shop. It's seen better days, but it looks cool and it tells a story. These models had a soul. They have soul, and that's exactly what I needed. My painting plan works simple, a heavy dose of nostalgia. I want to go for those vibrant greens, sickly yellows, and a mix of old school paints with the modern pigment goodness that they have. We're going to make them pop. We're bringing back those old school colours back to life. Your bilious greens, your scorpion greens, even your OG bleach bone. They're going to be done the way they were back in the day, but with a bit of a modern twist. Not a lot, just enough to make them really cool and bright. They're going to be unapologetically loud. They're going to be so much fun to paint. Now moving on to the other aspect of this army. The painting aspect is my favourite, but the gaming is just as important. I've never played a game of 40k 2nd edition, but I've always been enamoured by it. I was at the wrong age when it came out, but I've got a list together. Thankfully, I've got some great hobby friends locally, so they can help me out with this. I'm also very lucky to know Richard from Bringing Back Wargaming on YouTube. He's local to me, and hopefully when this model's ready, and I actually figure out how to play the game, I can play some games with him and Jason. This army will be 3 units of Plague Marines with aspiring champions. It will have a Chaos Dreadnought, a Chaos Predator, a Rhino, if I can fit it into a 1500 point list, a Army Icon, and a HQ, and maybe a Sorcerer if we get to it, and the same with the Plague Bearers if we get to it. I'm going to be consulting a lot of you guys online. A lot of people in the hobby sphere know a lot more about this in particular than I do. So together we're going to build this Chaos Army, and then we're going to move on to the next project, because this isn't the only army that this channel will be making for 2nd edition and or other systems. There are 4 to 5 armies I have planned out for 2nd edition, and they will be getting done in the next couple of years. So let's close out this video and get on with it. By the end of this series, I'm hoping to have a fully painted Death Guard army that's unique and as decayed as Nurgle's own imagination. It won't be about winning games. It'll be about creating something that honours the hobby I love and the friend I lost. This isn't about death, it's about legacy. It's about remembering the good times, the battles and the laughs, and maybe even bad decisions, but that's part of what hobby's about. I mean, I've messed this army up once and not got very far. This time it's going to go to completion and we're going to play games with it. It's going to be fantastic. And here we have the first bit of test model that I'm doing. I will do some painting on this channel, but I think a little bit more of showcasing will be in order, because honestly my eyesight's not that good, being a very short-sighted man, and I ain't getting any younger. But here we begin the journey with a vibrant but with some dark. I'm trying to keep it similar to the Codex colours but bringing in a bit of my own flavour. But with that, let's get to the end of the video. So I invite you to stick around for the next few videos in this series, where I'll walk you through the painting process, share some of the tips and tricks, and of course have a laugh along the way. And if you've got your own Discard army, or you just want to share your thoughts on the rot-filled hobby journey, hit me up in the comments. Let's build this chaos together. Until next time, stay filthy, stay decayed, and remember, Negel's blessings are always just a plague away.